And listen, if my math serves me right, that means that you're 10 days into this summer being call me crazy. But I don't know, it seems like 10 days should be grounds for celebration. You correct me if I'm wrong. If you haven't noticed, I look for damn near any reason to celebrate. You should too, okay? But obviously not yet, okay? Pump the brakes, not yet. Not until, we finish day 10 is it safe to celebrate. Okay, today's a big one, okay? Today we dive into these coveted, relationships with commercial real estate brokers. Commercial listing brokers are huge relationships, key relationships, right? And we're going to continue to cultivate these relationships continually. That's how we do it. So they're going to make you wealthy. Broker relationships will make you wealthy, but you're going to make them wealthy as well. It's important for you to remember that, okay? So because of that, we never just hitch our wagon to one broker. We need to diversify by building relationships with as many brokers in the market as possible. For sure, you've heard me say and stress that this is a relationship business. I'm going to continue to stress that. Okay? It's a relationship business. And it's a very important to understand, a very key thing to understand when building relationships. And a key to doing that is understanding and caring about the needs of the other person. Remember that as you're building relationships with all your team members, but especially this team member. Okay, I'm going to tell you what brokers care about, which is closing the deal. Period. That's it. That's how they get paid, and just as importantly, how they build credibility with the seller to continue to get more listings. Right? Because of that, they're naturally going to size you up. They are going to want to know if you're a real buyer or if you're just somebody kicking the tires. I was going to say shit kicker, doesn't seem right. Kicking the tires. Okay, they want to work with a pro, somebody who understands their side of the equation, and somebody who's going to be easy to work with. We have to be that person. Okay, we have to be. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about how to build those relationships and how to build their confidence that we will close and that we're absolutely going to be a pleasure to work with, okay? So what they're going to want to know as they go through this process, they're going to want to know a few things as they're sizing us up, right? So as they're sizing us up, they're going to want to know, this is probably the most important, right? Where's the capital coming from? Every one of them will ask you that. They're also going to they're also going to wonder who's covering the net worth and liquidity for the loan, which is essentially who's sponsoring the deal. They're going to want to know what kind of returns you're targeting and what your investment model is, and then of course your track record. Okay, so let's talk about all these in detail. So first, where the capital is coming from. Okay, let's talk about this one. Meaning, what I mean by that, right, is what kind of investors do you work with? And we typically source the capital from our network of high net worth individuals, right? And we do so typically on a deal by deal basis, which means we typically don't purchase through a fund, right? Our deals are purchased through a syndication model, and that capital is raised from contract to close. So they may ask for proof of funds on if it's a bigger deal. What they're really doing is testing how you reply to that. I rarely get asked this anymore. It was very common in the beginning though. But my typical response would go something like this, and I would suggest you do the same. They ask for proof of funds. Say, certainly show proof of funds for earnest money deposits. Good chunk of the equity, but we don't keep the equity on hand, right? We syndicate or use our family office groups depending on the size of the equity piece. Okay, a statement like that is going to typically create status alignment and remove any need for proof of funds. We'll talk about status alignment more tomorrow and how we achieve that, but it's critical as we progress and grow, right? These statements. So as we go through this is another thing. As we go through this, remember, this terminology and how we phrase things is extremely important, okay? So how we phrase this kind of stuff. So the next one, where's the liquidity and net worth coming from? Do you have that liquidity and net worth in place? Once again, they're just wanting to know how you're going to qualify for the loan. Now, if you already know who the sponsor is, or at least have an idea of who that sponsor will be, that'll certainly help. A status alignment statement. Once again, we'll cover more tomorrow. But a status alignment statement would look more like, for sure, our group can take down a deal of X size based on X liquidity with X net worth, right? You don't necessarily have to tell them, what your sponsor or your sponsor's not necessarily part of your specific company. Listen, they're a partner with you on the deal, and that's all that matters at this point, okay? So it's terminology once again and how we phrase things. I'm trying to adjust this lighting and get that glare away, but I don't know if I can do that. I tried, okay? So number 3 is the target returns, okay? What kind of returns you're targeting and what your investment model is. There is a number of different investment models, okay? You have joint ventures, syndications, value add, core plus. Value add essentially just needs some capital to make it better, right? Core plus, a core plus property is a cash flow property that doesn't require capital improvements. As you know, our typical focus is typically syndications with light value add opportunities, okay? Now, target returns. Target returns are different for everyone. Different investors also look at different metrics, when gauging returns. And because of that, they're going to want to know, what kind of deal would make sense, to bring to you. So the most common metrics, IRR, that stands for internal rate of return, cash on cash return, equity multiples, cap rate. Those are the most common things that people will target. We do too. So my comment to that would be something along the lines of, we're targeting cash on cash returns in the 7 to 10% range with a minimum debt coverage ratio of 1.25, right? That's what I would say. You should say something similar. Size and price as well. Okay, now size and price. And I'll say this statement of, we're open to anything is not the correct answer. Okay? I feel like some people treat their deal flow like Ryan treats his Tinder account. They just freaking swipe right on anything and hope that there's a match somewhere. I think it's swipe right, I don't know. But that may work on Tinder, okay, but not here. Don't tell Ryan I said that. We need to define the target. I don't even know if he has a Tinder account, okay, I don't know. But we have to define the target, okay? The number of units, the purchase price, the equity piece, right? We need to know what those are. 50 plus units, right, in the $8 to $25 million range. I would say something like With our investor base, we feel confident raising anywhere from 3 to 8 million. Anything higher than 8 million, we would need to bring in some family office groups. Once again, a phrase, something like that that's relevant to you. Yours may be smaller, it may be bigger, it's up to you. And then lastly, property type. Okay, now the property type, we're talking the neighborhood, the vintage, the market location. We prefer C- properties and typically B+ properties in C- to A areas, right? Property vintage of typically 1980 or newer, and we like them located in primary or secondary markets. Okay, so have this information ready and relevant for them. And then lastly, they're going to want to know what your track record is. And whenever I say this in a live class, I can just see the freaking frustration and doubt to just immediately wash over everybody, okay? Hold up, you're telling me that I have to gain a track record to buy a deal, but if I need to buy a deal, I have to have a track record to buy a deal. Shit, I knew this was too good to be true. I can't do this. I shouldn't even have registered for this damn class. I can just see it. So wherever you're watching this, okay, you take a big deep breath through your nose, then breathe slowly out your mouth, and quit being such a whiny, volatile mess. For shit's sake, pull it together, okay? It's not I can't, it's how can I. It's the beauty of the multifamily space. There's enough room to justify multiple partners. You've heard me say that a million times, okay? So what do, you partner up with other operating partners, within the network or without the network. It doesn't matter, but partner up with people who have a track record. This is a great way to get on the GP side of the deal, to learn, to add value to add to your portfolio, period. And wait for it, to gain a track record. You got this, come on, you got this shit, okay? Even if you just passively invest into a deal, you now have X number of units in your portfolio. You know the deal, you've underwritten the deal, you've invested in the deal. Guys, that's experience, okay? So think outside the box. How can we make that happen? And once again, I briefed on this earlier, but I'm going to give you another workaround, in the next section tomorrow called status alignment. It's a great workaround of that, okay? Now that you know what they're going to be looking for, let's talk about where you find them, where you need to look to find them, essentially, right? So we can always do a Google search, right? The old almighty Google search certainly works. Some of the most popular firms, Cushman & Wakefield, Capstone, JLL, Berkadia, CBRE, you can look those up, okay? You can also find them on CCIM, okay, CCIM.com. These are established brokers, remember, okay, so some of them might not call you back, but it's a great place to find them regardless. Just remember, okay, shots on goal. Just remember that. Number 3, LoopNet. LoopNet is a great place. Now, I know that we talk down on LoopNet, at times, but LoopNet is a great place to find active brokers. Write this down, okay? There are three things that I look for, with an internet listing. 1, residential brokers, okay? Meaning with a LoopNet listing, okay? I'm looking for residential brokers. A lot of them, don't have a buyer's list. So what they do is they immediately put that property on the internet to see if they can sell it. Great resource. Number 2 is for sale by owners. Most sites require nothing more than, registration for the seller to create a listing. You can find some great deals from owners who are really just looking to move their property, okay? And then number 3 is active listing brokers. So you're going to see that the same broker has multiple listings. That's an active broker that you should build a relationship with. So those are the 3 things that I'm looking for there. Now, by the way, that with the active listing broker, that deal might suck that you're looking at, right? But others won't. So when that happens, call them. You can say something like this, hey, Stacy, great to meet you. Saw your listing, for X deal on LoopNet. That deal doesn't necessarily work for me. I buy properties based on X criteria, but I would love to connect and see if you have any other deals, either on the market currently or that will be coming to the market soon, that would meet that criteria. Listen, Stacy already knows. She knows the deal doesn't work. That's why it's on LoopNet to begin with. So she'll respect that you know your target, right? Okay. And then lastly, get referrals from other team members. Critical. We talked about this, right? So like I said yesterday, this will immediately validate you as a player. Immediately, right? A referral, you're name dropping there, okay? My other advice on this, okay? If you're nervous about, these calls, go have a conversation with a broker, that's a couple markets away from your current market or the market that you're investing in. You're going to learn a ton from those conversations, okay? And from the questions that they'll ask you. And you're also not going to be worried about ruining a relationship, okay? Which will put you at ease, and you'll see how differently you reply to those things. So your assignment today will be to gather the information that you need, right? To define your investment targets. You're going to practice that script, those paragraphs, those phrases that you put together, and then you're going to call 2 brokers in another market, okay? Just like I mentioned. That way tomorrow, you're going to be ready to freaking just wax poetic with any broker at any time, anywhere, ready to roll, okay? Oh, that's how we do it, okay?